Greetings and welcome. My name is Michaela and I am a part of Black August Los Angeles, and this is our Black August FLEA Day Program for 2026. Black August Los Angeles is commemorating Black August, which is from August 1st to August 31st every year. We are continuing the tradition of resistance until victory is won. As Sister Asada Amoja of Black August Los Angeles has said, resistance means standing up against injustice. She quotes Martin Luther King Jr. as he said, "It is a refusal to cooperate with injustice." And she continues, "It is for this reason that many of our sisters and brothers are dead, in prison or in exile. We have folks who have been buried up under the prison in solitary confinement for over 40 years, and some have even died in prison. The primary reason for that is because they have refused to cooperate with injustice. We here for Black August in Los Angeles are commemorating and acknowledging all of the sisters and brothers and people who gave their lives, their time, and their energy to the upliftment and the freedom of our people. Black August is also a time for healing, restoration, affirming and reaffirming our dedication to remembering all of those who have given their lives for the liberation of African people. Here is Sister Asada of Black August Los Angeles in her own words to continue the opening of our program.
A lot of us forget that somebody paid a price. Many people are living very comfortably because of the sacrifices that our comrades, our sisters and brothers have made. We want to always remember them. And this month, Black August is dedicated to remembering them in whatever way we do remember them. And one of the ways that we do it with Black August is from the 1st to the 31st, we fast, and we also acknowledge all those, again, who have made those sacrifices. We make a recommitment to continue to stand for truth and justice and to never cooperate, again, with injustice. The current system that we live under, the white racist America right now, has done everything in a lot of cases to try and break these brothers and sisters that are in, particularly in solitary confinement, and they have not been able to do it. The fact that they're still standing, the fact that they refuse to cooperate is a reason for us to always acknowledge them. So we're opening now this ceremony where we commemorate and acknowledge again all those who have made those sacrifices, some who are no longer with us today, those who are still in prison, those who are up under the prisons, as well as those who are in political exile. So that's what that we're welcoming you to this program today to commemorate with us, not celebrate, but to commemorate and acknowledge the lives of all those who've made that commitment. Gonna move right on to, because we don't never want to start without giving acknowledgement to our ancestors and calling them in and welcoming them in to join us, to stand with us as we continue this struggle until victory is won. So we have with us Lorenzo Frank from Christ Unity that's going to lead us in a libation where we give acknowledgement again to our ancestors.
Ashe, give thanks, Sister Sada. We are an African people, and we cannot do anything of any significance without honoring, without paying homage to, and without welcoming the ancestors into this space. So we're going to ask that if you're able to stand for the pouring of libations. Ashe. So we pour libations to that first ancestor, to that God-goddess idea in the universe, to that hidden one who, although hidden, manifests in all things as all things. So to that first ancestor, we pour libation and we say Ashe. And we pour libation to those ancestors of the African interior, the first men and women on the planet, the mothers and fathers of all humanity. So to those ancestors, we pour libation and we say Ashe. We pour libation to the Black woman, the genesis of all humanity, to the first human being. So to the Black woman, we pour libation and we say Ashe. And we pour libation to those ancestors of the African interior who knew that there was a need for governance. And they created the first civilizations. And they developed it to its highest culture that reached its zenith in Kemet. So to those ancestors, we pour libation and we say Ashe. And we pour libation to those ancestors who one day took a long and mighty walk. And they peopled the planet. They met themselves coming and going. So to those mighty ancestors who came before Columbus, who came before Magellan, to those ancestors that they don't teach you about in school, to those mighty explorers, we pour libation and we say Ashe. And we pour libation to those ancestors who wrote on the temples and tombs. They wrote the Medunetta, words of God. The Europeans call it hieroglyphics. But they wrote these on the temples and tombs so that we may never forget. So to those mighty ancestors, we pour libation and we say Ashe. And we pour libation to those ancestors who one day found themselves kidnapped, shackled and cargoed, enslaved throughout the diaspora. To those ancestors who killed and was killed before they would lose their freedom. To those ancestors that jumped ship before they would become slaves, and the bones of those brave souls still line the ocean floor. So to those mighty ancestors, we pour libation and we say Ashe. And we pour libation to those ancestors who once they reached these shores, they resisted, they agitated, they resisted, they put glass in master's grits. So to those mighty ancestors, we pour libation and we say Ashe. And we pour libation to those ancestors who began to piece themselves back together, who began to hear pieces of their language, beats on a drum, words from a song, and they became the new Africans, the new Jalila. So to those mighty ancestors, we pour libation and we say Ashe. And we pour libation to those freedom fighters, to those warriors who fought and died for our freedom and our liberation. To those ancestors like Hannibal, Ashe, like Shaka Zulu, Ashe, like Queen Ya Asantewa, Ashe, for those ancestors like Queen Hatshepsut, Ashe, to those ancestors like Fannie Lou Hamer, like Ella Baker, Ashe, like Nat Turner, Ashe, like Harriet Tubman, Ashe, like Sojourner Truth, Ashe, like Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, Ashe, like Fred Hampton, Ashe, like Khalid Muhammad, Ashe, like Malcolm X, Ashe, like MLK and Frederick Douglass, Ashe, like those ancestors like George Jackson and Jonathan Jackson and Peter Drumgo, to those mighty ancestors, to all the ancestors that represent Black August, for our freedom and our liberation, we pour libation and we say Ashe. And we pour libation to all of those that are listening to the sound of my voice, to all of us who continue to fight for our freedom and our liberation, who continue to carry the torch of our ancestors and our elders whose shoulders that we stand on. We stand on the shoulders of giants, and we will continue to fight for our freedom and liberation. So to all of us that will continue this fight, we pour libation and we say Ashe. and we pour libation to our children, our cultural heirs, to those African babies that will continue the fight when we are gone, that will continue our legacy. Is in their DNA. So to those children, we pour libation and we say Ashe. And to their children, Ashe. And to their children, Ashe. And to their children, Ashe, Ashe. Give thanks. Ashe.
Thank you, Brother Lorenzo. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. We give thanks to the ancestors, and we thank you, Brother Lorenzo, for that beautiful libation as we welcome our ancestors in to join us. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do an overview of Black August. We have Brother G2 Siddiqui, who has been a long time committed warrior in terms of fighting for the rights of not just political prisoners, but prisoners in general, our people who have been locked back behind bars. And he's going to give you some history about Black August, its meaning, and give you a better understanding of why, we do this every single year and why we continue to stand for our sisters and brothers that are locked behind walls and in political exile. Brother G2.
G2 Siddiqui, co-founder of Black August in 1979, is now an ancestor. Before we let the video play of this founding member of Black August in Black August Los Angeles and a member of the Black August Organizing Committee, a former New African political prisoner, and a founder of BACD. Before we get into the video of G2 Siddiqui explaining what Black August is and the origin story behind Black August, I will quote G2. Beginning in August 1979, a small cadre of comrades housed in Soledad's SHU, Secure Housing Unit, O-Wing, myself, Dadisi Yero, Zaharibu, Jamani, Zezu, and a few others whose names I can't immediately recall, we initiated our first commemoration of Black August. After the death of Jeffrey Katari Golden in San Quentin prison, there was a long period of mourning and anger, even among those of us who had not personally known him, just as we had not personally known Comrade George Jackson and other stalwart warriors, guerrillas. But their selfless acts of courage and sacrifice were known, and their indomitable spirit of resistance was felt, providing motivation and inspiration to deepen our individual and collective commitment to the existing Black liberation movement raging across America and resistance to the immediate repression we were experiencing within the belly of the beast. Now, founder Comrade G2 on Black August.
Weusi Agosti Salamu. Weusi Agosti Salamu is Swahili interpretation of Black August greetings. One of the things that happened during the 70s, actually started in the late 60s, or in the 60s, leading up to a culmination of events that took place during the 70s. And that was conditions that existed within California prisons where brothers had to challenge the system, not only the state, but also wayward prisoners. And I say wayward prisoners, you had those that were racist based on the conditions that exist there, and those that were confused, those that supported the racists. So we had to endure those conditions where brothers lost their lives. They had to take a stand and fight against that racism. There were several events that took place that laid the foundation for what we commemorate today as Black August. And we start with an incident that happened, although this wasn't the first incident, but it was an incident that led to all of this domino effect. And that was when in Soledad Prison, January 13, 1970, was the first time that they integrated the exercise yard in solitary confinement, security housing unit, which was infamously known as O-Wing. When they integrated that yard, the day that they integrated, they had the intentions on murdering several, or at least one brother in particular, who they had a lot of enmity for, meaning the staff and the prisoners. They had tried to get this brother many times prior to that, and he always came up successful. His name was W.L. Noble. When they integrated the yard, they started letting prisoners out, supposedly one by race, until they got the number of prisoners that were going to the yard that day. They actually let out more white prisoners than they did black. So by the time that a few of them got to the yard, there was a fight that started. In that fight, a white boy attacked WL, who he fought, and the gun tower guard shot twice. He shot a kill shot that hit WL, and another shot from an M14 rifle that grazed or that ricocheted and hit the white dude, but it wasn't a deadly shot. After he shot WL, two other brothers who were on the yard at the time, Cleveland Edwards and Alvin Miller, went over to assist WL. And when they went over to assist him, they also was shot, which was a kill shot. So on that day, January 13th, 1970, three brothers lost their life. They didn't give them any immediate medical attention, and either the bullet immediately killed them or they bled to death. The case went before a grand jury in Salinas County, and they found that the shooting was justifiable. So the guard wasn't charged for the shooting. Approximately 2 weeks after that, a guard was murdered in another part of Solidarity Prison. And the result of it was that three brothers was charged for that guard's murder. Those three brothers was Fleeta Drumgo, John Clechette, and George Jackson. The notoriety around the killing and them being charged with that killing led to a transfer in venue, a change in venue from Salinas County to Marin County. And those three brothers were transferred to San Quentin Prison in Marin County. Meanwhile, George, who had been prolific in writing and trying to expose a lot of what was going on in prison, and had been schooling his younger brother, Jonathan Jackson, about conditions in prison. August 7th of that same year, 1970, there was an incident in Marin County Courthouse where three brothers were on trial. Actually, one was on trial and two were there for witnesses. You had James McClain, who was on trial, and William Christmas and Rochelle McGee, who came as witnesses to court. It was understood that George was supposed to be in court that day, but he wasn't. Rochelle McGee, so anyway, Jonathan entered into the courtroom, took over the courtroom, armed the brothers that were on trial or that were in the courtroom, and attempted to liberate his brother by taking the judge, the prosecutor, and the witnesses, a couple of jurors, hostage in exchange for the release of the Solidarity brothers, who George, John, and Fleeta became known as. They were able to make it to the exit the court and made it into the van when the guards from San Quentin and the local police opened fire on the van, killing Jonathan, James McClain, William Christmas, and the judge. The DA was injured, and also Rochelle McGee suffered injuries. That incident happened August 7th of 1970. A year later, August 21st, 1971, they claimed there was an attempt by Comrade George, to escape from the Adjustment Center in San Quentin, and it led to brothers taking over the Adjustment Center And George Jackson was murdered on that day, almost a year to the day that his brother was murdered. Out of that incident, there were several brothers who were charged with being involved with that takeover in the Adjustment Center, and they became known as the San Quentin Six. You had Sundiata, Willie Sundiata Tate. You had David Giap Johnson, Ugo Yogi Pinell, Larry Spain, Flea Drumgo, who was one of the original Soledad brothers, and Louis Bato Talamentes. They were charged with being involved with that incident. All of them either took a deal or they were exonerated. Fast forward to August 1st, 1978. One of the architects of Black August, one of the two architects, one being Shujar Graham, who spent 7 years on death row, and Jeffrey Katari Gaulden. Jeffrey Katari Gaulden suffered an injury on the prison yard in AC in San Quentin, didn't receive the necessary medical attention that was needed, and he died from his wound, which happened August 1st, 1978. So if you see the pattern, a lot of what occurred during the month of August. We bring the incident in Soledad Wayne into the month of August, and is commemorated August 13th. That laid the foundation for the following year when we began to commemorate these brothers, and not just them, but others who gave up their lives, who sacrificed their lives for other prisoners to deal with the conditions that they had to live up under, and their lives were taken from us. So that began the practice of Black August the following year in August 1979. One of the things that we always do, but we intensify during the month of August, is we study. We fast, similar to Ramadan, from sun to sundown on particular days, August 1st, August 7th, August 13th, and August 21st. We do a 24-hour fast, and we refer to those as the FLEA Days, to acknowledge the ultimate sacrifice that those comrades made. FLEA standing for First Liberation Expedition Africa. Other than studying fast, we also train and we fight. Whenever we can, we get into pairs and do whenever we are allowed to come together in somewhat in a secretive way. And if we got a cellie, we would train with that cellie. We would learn how to fight so that if we have to come against other prisoners, which has happened a lot of times when you're in solitary confinement, your cell actually opens up and other prisoners are outside the cell. And so you got to deal with that situation. So that's kind of like an overview of what we do. This is a tradition that will continue on until we liberate. Thank you.
Thank you, G2. So at this point in our program, we're going to have a little bit of a change in pace, and we're going to introduce some extremely young voices into our conversation. We will be experiencing a poem by a few young sisters who are going to remind us of our strength and the fight that is within. After we hear this poem, we will hear from and hear about some young people who have either been instrumental in developing Black August, such as Jonathan Jackson, who we just recently heard about, or who have been impacted by the effects of Black August, or who are a part of the movement and just want to share. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for being a part of this program today.
brown sugar,
seasoning spice,
and hair with no life.
These are the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little girl.
But Professor Utonium accidentally added an extra ingredient to the mix.
Malcolm X! That's the Panther Puzzle born. All black pride and pretty Blossom,
Bubbles,
and Buttercup have dedicated their lives to fighting the murder of joy in their community. Dun, dun, dun.
The city of Brownsville is a magical place.
A town where girls like us can be in full bloom. My name is Blossom. I am the rose that grew from concrete, a flower fed on black love. My roots run deep.
My name is Bubbles. I was created from grease and giggles, blew me up into 3D. Ati says I'm iridescent.
My name is Buttercup. I got power in this puff. They call me Spice because my tongue knows how to hit heavy.
We are babies of bionic compound.
Beautiful brown with a splash of chemical X activism.
I think Malcolm would be proud of our mojo.
Jojo, we got too much guts to let anyone turn us ghosts. So I can see why they green with envy. But I'll keep my garden gap grin stuck to my cheeks. Won't let nothing steal this black girl happy.
I be brown buoyancy at its finest.
Because they can't drag you down when you got hope shackled to your feet. I be a sunflower, shea butter sister to the sun, a magnolia mother to the mud,
the ocean, an orchid orphan I adopted in a hug.
When our fists are held high,
hierarchy will never apply
to cultural sisters, pretty black souls, panther ideals be popping.
You can't dilute a perfect mix between
black and proud. We just got a call from the mayor. Oh no! Mr. America teamed up with Captain Cultural Appropriation. They must be stopped. Panther Puffs, let's go! Mr. America, I won't let you pressure me to be as pretty as your privilege. Panther Puffs push back with a punch. Captain Appropriation.
We won't let you Christopher Columbus our kids with kidnap, cruelty, and kill it with kindness.
Kapow! Boys always want to batter brown with their banner, want to see black bruise, but I won't back down from this battle. Bam! We pick out bad guys with picks.
Booby traps consist of hair grease.
We'll save the day with a fist. 5 out of 7 baby hairs with edge control.
Didn't anyone tell you that here we won't allow our hair to be the reason we get picked on?
We pick it out. Did anyone tell you they try not to service at a restaurant? We sit it out. Didn't anyone tell you that it was brown women who birthed the boycotts? That it was black girls who braved Birmingham bombs? We still black power far away from the smoke. Came out covered in cinder, stood in sacrifice, and still set us all on fire. Why you think we so hot?
Our curls are still southern, slick and sedity.
My people stay live. Every day we look death in the face and still survive. And still survive. And still survive.
I love this war even when it don't love me back.
Even when it don't love this black.
Sometimes I feel reluctant.
Most days when you're clothed in this color, it feels like a cloak of beauty and visibility. But I learned to wear this cape courageously. And I won't let Captain Appropriation take it away from me.
Don't take this kindness for weakness.
Cause this presidential panther pussy grabs back even when I pedal people with water with hoses. Like Sims, we still stand tall. Mr. America, didn't you know that we don't drown, we grow. We be the Panther Puff girls. All black pride
and pretty.
This is the story of Jonathan Jackson. He had the heart of old John Brown, and he had the courage too. They took his brother and they locked him away when Jonathan was young and small. And they left him there until Jonathan Jackson had grown up strong and tall. He was strong and tall. Now he went down to the courthouse one warm and sunny day. That's just a couple miles from the San Quentin prison on the San Francisco Bay. He pulled a carbine out of his trousers and a pistol from his coat. And he said, I am now the captain here. Nobody rock the boat. Nobody rock the boat. to get my brother, then take him to the freedom land. The deputy freed the prisoners, and out the door they went. They must have thought that old Jonathan Jackson was just about heaven sent. Heaven sent. They hadn't gotten very far before the battle was begun. It wasn't too much longer now before everything was done. Well, old John Brown's ghost was close by crying, for he could plainly see Jonathan Jackson just lost his life trying to set his brother free. Was trying to set his brother free. Now this is the story of the whispering thunder that echoes across this land. This is the story of the whispering thunder that talks to every man. This is the story of one young brother with the blood boiling in his veins. This is the story of the whispering thunder that comes before the rain. Before the rain. Before the rain.
Thank you for watching this video and participating in this tribute to Jonathan Jackson. And if you were watching the video and you were able to pay attention to what was happening in the song and the story, you would have learned or reheard what was mentioned earlier in this program about the Marin County Courthouse Rebellion, where we lost Jonathan Jackson at 17, William Christmas at 27, and James McLean at 37. Jonathan Jackson has inspired so many youth and adults to always fight for our liberation. His story shows that young people are willing to sacrifice their own lives for the freedom of African people. And speaking of the freedom of African people, next in our program is Michael Anderson talking about the Free Shaka Shakur campaign. Shaka Shakur, who is presently behind bars, behind the wall, in prison, and who is relying on us to advocate for him to get out.
Hey comrades, this is Michael here, and just wanted to share some information about the Free Shaka Shakur campaign. For those of you who don't know, here in Black August, we have political prisoners that we hold up and lift up every year that we know their cases historically. Assata Shakur, Angela Davis, George Jackson, Mumia. But similar to Mumia, there's ongoing cases of people who are lesser known, and Shaka Shakur is one of those incarcerated men locked up in these heinous Virginia prisons. This video is going to be just about the campaign and a little background on Shaka himself. I'm going to play some clips from a roundtable that was had with our friends over at Black Liberation Media, and they will be able to, through the words of Akili Shakur, Shaka's wife, and some other comrades, you'll be able to hear more about the campaign, Shaka's ideology, and the context that led to his imprisonment in the first place. So that's what this is about. I'll repeat this later, but you can definitely take action over at shakashakur.org. I'll say that again, shakashakur.org, and it tells you all the steps that you need to get involved in the campaign, and sharing and donating to the Legal Defense Fund, signing petitions, buying merchandise, showing film screenings wherever you are of his documentary Across Enemy Lines. And just getting involved in general, signing up to be a part of a chapter or what have you of his freedom campaign. So now what I'll do is I'll just read directly from the About Shaka Shakur section on his Freedom Campaign website. Shaka Shakur is a human rights advocate, father, grandfather, husband, and beloved member of the international community who has been held captive by the state of Indiana since 2002. He is currently imprisoned at the Lunenburg Correctional Center in Virginia, where he's serving Indiana time in another state. Shaka's conviction on a trumped-up charge of attempted murder of a police officer was precipitated by politically motivated harassment by the Gary, Indiana police and the state of Indiana. During his first period of incarceration, beginning when he was 16 years old, Shaka embraced new African revolutionary politics. Mentored by figures such as Zola Wazania and James Yaki Sales, Shaka became an active organizer while incarcerated at the notorious Indiana State Prison. Indiana State Prison, ISP, Indiana's death row, run by a good old boy network of white supremacist guards and administrators who routinely beat, tortured, and lynched black prisoners in their custody. Shaka was highly influential in bringing resistance to this reign of terror, actions which would lead him and 5 other organizers known as the Indiana Six being transferred to the Westville Maximum Controlled Complex, Indiana's first supermax and the second in the U.S. Shaka continued his efforts in Westville, bringing together prisoners outside organizations like the Committee to End the Marion Lockdown and various other human rights groups to push for an independent investigation into the human rights abuses being committed in the supermax. These efforts led to Human Rights Watch report Cold Storage, Maximum Security Confinement in Indiana, a landmark document on the realities of supermax prisons. Shaka is a committed New African revolutionary, a regular contributor to the publications of the Spear and Shield Collective. He is active in the theory and practice of New African independence, drawing on his own experience. He emphasized the importance of recognizing the category of politicized prisoners as political prisoners. Shaka's reputation as a revolutionary and principled organizer would lead to constant harassment following his release from the Indiana Department of Corrections and brief stint in Wisconsin. He was improperly trialed as a habitual offender on a false charge of attempted murder and has been held captive ever since. In 2018, Shaka was put on domestic exile as he was sent to Virginia in an attempt to stifle his political organizing and cut off his support networks. That attempt failed as Shaka continues his effort for human rights in the Indiana Department of Corrections and the Virginia Department of Corrections, and the struggle for all human rights. He continues writing and organizing towards these ends.
A brief historical overview and update anybody who is not clear on what we're all here for and why, and then go from there. Does that work?
I'm Akili Shakur, and I'm the wife of freedom fighter Shaka Shakur. And this fight began really 25 years ago. Shaka has been in the system most of his life, from a teenager, about 15, and then he was out. Where he's at now comes from the fact of what happened with his son when he got out. His son was murdered. And in the midst of all of that, right before, he'd been out about a year. And in the time that he was out, he was always being harassed and picked up at various points by the police in our area because of the work that he had done while he was locked up in the Indiana system prior to his release. And he's been writing for years, and he's always been standing on the injustice that happens with mass incarceration and how it affects people of our community, and how it's not by happenstance, but it's a plan. And with him being in Indiana, he was always pushing forward the issues that Indiana was holding against the people in the community of Indiana to help, I guess you can say, push forward the economics of mass incarceration in private prisons. So if you really want to read all of it, because it's a lot that goes into it, but the main reason is that in the midst of PTSD, when his son was murdered, that Shaka had an episode that he ended up shooting a police car, not a police officer. The police officer was outside the car, but he was in one of those mental moments of suicide by cop. And he was believing at the time that if he shot the car up, that they would kill him because he was grieving heavily, his only child. And they kind of grew up together with him behind the wall and his son being on the street. And this is the first time that they've spent this much time. And it's the day after Shaka's birthday. And he felt kind of responsible for not being able to save his son. His son called the day after Shaka's birthday, and Shaka says, okay, I'm going to finish this up and I'm going to come get you. Within 10 minutes, he got a phone call that his son had been murdered. And when he gets there, he sees 2 shotgun blasts to his son. The police won't let him get close to his son. They're laughing and calling him a DSF, Dear Society of Favor, one less that they have to worry about for the future. And he completely lost it. And he never really quite gained it back with that much pain. He went into self-medicating and he had to even find the person that did it because the police department was not putting in any work whatsoever to find out what happened, where the young man that did it was at. And he's still trying to hold principle of working through the system and yet not taking justice into his own hands. That's a mental war that one goes through when you've been raised to think a certain way. So he's gone through all of that. They've put him back in the Indiana prison system under attempt murder of a police officer, and that's not true. Once he got back, he's been writing about the issues that still plague not only just himself, but the system itself, how it plagues individuals that are locked up inside. And they've never, ever given him a break from that. They're still holding things against him from when he was a youngster. That mentality still goes. They've tried to block his writings. They've tried to block families and friends from being able to visit. And this last one is that they pushed him all the way to Virginia, up under the Interstate Compact, where they can treat you like a federal prisoner instead of a state prisoner based off of whatever they deem you as being inside the state that you're in. There is no criteria set for how individuals are chosen to be moved around. And what we've seen the pattern is that anybody that's outspoken about anything that's negative about their state's incarceration system, they're more likely to be moved from one state to another. So now we're here. He's all the way in Virginia, and he's had to build a coalition through Indiana and Virginia comrades there just to be able to make sure that he doesn't come up unalived, because they have so much of that goes on and no one ever investigates it. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, free the land. I appreciate being back on the platform. But I can speak specifically from Virginia. I would say this is the ground zero, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to the prison industrial slave complex right now, because you got 3 of the worst prisons in America right now. You know, Red Onion, Wallens Ridge, River North. These are what I call like the reshaping and the continuation of what the brother just quoted on, you know, stating and things of that nature about the brutal, repression of the freedom fighters and the political prisoners and the activists that are, maintaining this line of resistance in the prisons. And right now in Virginia, like yesterday, we just had a demonstration in unity with the Free Alabama movement. If y'all familiar with the Free Alabama movement, which was a demonstration and a rally against prison abuse and things of that nature from Virginia, just, outlining the deeper South of that Black Belt, New African nation and things of that nature. We all stood up yesterday in solidarity in several states, participated with us, with Uproar, the organization from, right here in Richmond, Virginia, that led that demonstration yesterday. And Red Onion, Wallens Ridge, River North right now, man, it's some brutal, repressive tactics coming from the system that's going on right now. They're kidnapping people, beating people, unaliving people, and even right here in the city of Richmond, Virginia, it's constant deaths within the system, of the Virginia Department of Corrections, where individuals is coming up missing, man. Like they're just being kidnapped, framed, and things of this nature, dead. And also the horrific system, the domestic slave trade, the interstate compact contract, it's being elevated at this moment. And Virginia they're demonstrating, they're showing you what we're about, what they're about anyway, when it comes to the prison industrial slave complex. They're shipping people, kidnapping people, shipping them to different states. Like, it's a brother case right now that we were talking about yesterday at the demonstration. It's a young brother from Virginia that's a political activist by the name of Ekong Ishii. He was just transferred to Indianapolis. He's in Westville Correctional Center, where he's in the hole and being brutally repressed, and he's on a hunger strike right now within that prison system, trying to bring attention to his case. But like he said, like the brother was stating, as far as the resistance as well is being elevated right now in Virginia as well, due to Shaka's case, and other prisoners that's going to the level of just setting themselves on fire right now. Like this is not even really, like it doesn't have a lot of attention. It's coming from us though, the people that's in the resistance movement and all those things. But on a, more like a more media wise level, it's being suppressed. Like, brothers are really setting themselves on fire right now to bring attention and resistance to the system, the draconian system right here in Virginia right now. So, I just wanted to raise that attention to the, as well, when it comes to political climate, that the repression is, at an all-time high, and the resistance is at an all-time high here in Virginia. And, a lot of it, I would have to say, I have to give thanks to Shaka. Even though, we want him home back in Indiana, but he also has brought, the attention that we never received when it comes to the resistance movement here in Virginia and things of that nature by his presence alone. But as far as his politics, yeah, man, like his politics is playing a very serious role, because it's educating the people here in Virginia on the New African politics. If people that's not familiar with the New African politics, that's the New African independence movement, the struggle, the movement for the total liberation of that Black Belt national territory within the Deep South states that was, waged by the provisional government of the Republic of New Africa. That is also going through this, reorientation to a new generation. The New African independence movement, the politics is being introduced to this new climate of revolutionaries, the youth, students across the nation right now, especially here in the South. In Virginia, people are getting introduced to the politics. And Shaka is the example of that. Like his politics, man, is definitely starting to play a major role in the resistance, but also this brutal repression that he's also going through right now, with this lockdown that happened at River North, where this and let me add this on, if people don't know, it was a correctional officer that was unalived recently at River North. So this is why all this activity is going on with Shaka being locked down and things of that nature, is that prisoners is getting fed up, and they're retaliating. They're unaliving CEOs and things of that nature. And so Shaka politics and things of that nature, all these type of things when it comes to New African politics, these things are being attacked. There's a counter, surgency against New African politics right now in the empire. So if people get the book, Manifestation of Thoughts, that just came out, if you want to learn more about Shaka's politics. And I think this book is definitely, a mapping and a reorientation, and also, introducing the new generation to this New African politics, or the New African independence movement right now. And a lot of youth are very interested right now. They're definitely attracted to the New African independence movement and Shaka politics. Like, Shaka is a very political astute New African. He's a serious New African man. So it's like, when it comes to his organizing and trying to, uplift the political consciousness of prisoners, he takes that very serious, and he's very effective with his organizing. So it's like, Indiana had enough of him. You know what I'm saying? So they shipped him to Virginia, where, like I was elaborating on, Virginia is ground zero of what these white nationalists, white supremacists, right-wing tactics look like far as prison, abuse, and that counterinsurgency to the resistance of political prisoners, freedom fighters who are incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? Like, Virginia is demonstrating. They're not talking. They're demonstrating. Like Derek said, when he got here, they attacked him immediately. You see what I'm saying? Like, when he got here and when they was transferring him and things of that nature, they attacked him, you know what I'm saying, Bewley. And these guards, man, let me tell you, these guards are heavy in those white nationalist Nazi politics. You see what I'm saying? So now it's like they playing this game, you know what I'm saying, of shipping him back and forth across Virginia because they want to keep him in his place. They want to keep him, you know what I'm saying, controlled. You know what I'm saying? They don't want what he was doing in Indiana done here in Virginia, because Virginia right now is being exposed globally. It's being exposed internationally and nationally of example of the prison system in the modern day prison industrial slave complex. So I just think it's just based on who he is, his politics, his organizing and stuff like that. So they're just coming up with all type of counterinsurgency tactics to break him at this point. And they don't want that here in Virginia.
And let's close out with his wife, Akili.
All of this work is costing. Shaka just came off a 19-day hunger strike, and it's only been off about maybe, I want to say 5 days. He's had kidney surgery while he's been in there. They removed part of that. He's had knee replacement, and with them doing the things they do, they're making it even harder for him to get some of his writings out and answer some of the questions that people are sending in. We still have to come up with ways of getting money for stamps and all this. Nothing has changed. Everybody's making money off the prison system. And I hate to be the person in church with the collection plate, but I'm getting ready to go there. I'm going to ask, before you spend all your tax money, can you send a few bucks in on the shakashakur.org webpage? I don't care what it is. If it's nothing but $2, if that's all you've got. Because this work has to go on, and we're not being paid for this. I'm not getting a salary. He's not getting a salary. There's no extra commissary. This is going out to get word out, and it costs money for attorneys. And I can't tell you how much money has been lost in trying to find an attorney that is not afraid to go up against the state. And that's something that communities need to be aware of. You need to vet your attorneys before you start paying them, because they will drag it out. And then when you have no more money, then they jump off the boat, because it's all political. And people don't understand that. Well, he took my money and he didn't do so and so and so. Yeah, there are unscrupulous individuals who make a living off of that. And so we're asking that, if you really care and if you can do anything, send us a couple of bucks. Help us continue to be able to get the word spread further than just Indiana, California, and Virginia. It takes money, more so because you got to have the ink and the paper and the stamps and all of that. And even though you got your computer, you got to make sure that the ink on that is all these things. And we have to be careful what we put out, because they scrutinize everything from his end. If you send him a letter, understand that they're copying your letter, and then they will give him the copy and they keep the original. Anything to suppress the voices. And we have to be smarter. They're playing chess. We can't keep playing checkers. We got to come up and play the same game. So if you have loved ones that are behind the wall, understand that that's the name of the game. Shut down and destroy.
Shut down and destroy. Abolish the prison industrial complex. Abolish the prison system. We honor Shaka Shakur for his sacrifice and his continued resistance. And if you have any questions as to how to get involved in advocacy for Shaka, leave us a comment below and we'll be sure to get you connected to the right people. And as we shut down and destroy and abolish, we also have to help build the world we want to see. Next up, I'd like to welcome Brothers Fati Yero and Minister King of the Bay Area Black August Organizing Committee. They discussed the stakes at hand, and specifically how you can help get involved with the political prisoner liberation movement as a young person, as an elder, as a community member, as someone who is open and willing to get involved, to study, to fast, to train, to fight, to be down for the movement. Stay tuned.
We came down here today to show our support for Black August Los Angeles. And to be honest, we were thinking that we need to tell you something. You can tell us something. But I would say that the fight can only progress if we are clear in some forms where we have made mistakes, where we have taken half measures, where we have not recognized the power of ourselves to affect change. Pelican Bay shooting, really a martyred concrete dungeon. They held us there for as long as they could. I've done 24 years and 9 months, 24 years and 10 months there. And they were telling us fundamentally, either you are going to do this, or we're going to hold you until you die. We want you to demonstrate to us that you got the capacity to betray yourself. And we do not care if what we have taught you is negative. We want you to surrender anything that's good in you to show that you are not a threat to us. So anyway, insofar as the fight goes, we told them that. And we were fighting with other prisoners, and other prisoners were fighting with us. We tried different hunger strikes to try to make them recognize the wrong that they were doing to us. They didn't care. In fact, so in 2011, I'm going to say 2010, we began to say, we've tried this and that, and it didn't work. And why didn't it work? Basically, it didn't work because we do not recognize the fundamental tactic of control is divide and conquer. So they have divided us against each other. If we unite with each other, maybe we can push them off of us. I would say to y'all here, if you have any concern, there are some people that remain behind who they are really determined not to release. I just heard this brother named Abdul they had granted his certification for parole and then taken it back. And they said the reason that they took it back because he didn't debrief was number one, because he refused to go to a medical depot, number two, and then number three is that he is a Muslim and he bought a bag of pork rinds. And so I don't, for life of me, I don't know what that has to do with his dangerousness to be out here. So anyway, like I think that given some of the capacity that I seen in this room here, I think that y'all would be a great help in this fight to break the system.
First of all, free land.
Free land. By any means necessary.
So, my brother touched on everything, and it was good because y'all heard the essence of it. I'm the product of it. So a lot of times, we read about George, we read about, when we say the founders, you got two really important, and I want Mama Ayana to know that the work that she do, the work that James do, the work that he done inside influenced a lot of us. And I say us because you guys have arrived. And that's what he was alluding to for the teachings that we was hearing today, right? So I was the youngest New African that helped organize the hunger strike from 2011 to 2013. And it started off as a chosen few, and then it became like over 30,000 prisoners involved. They just made a movie called Strike. They even gave an Emmy for the movie, but there's a lot of untold stories. So that was part of the untold story. But one of the biggest focal points right now is for us to liberate our elders. And what did come out of the hunger strike was the historical agreement to end hostilities. The hunger strike. California was on rolling lockdown. California was subjected to use of force. One time they had one man, he was subjected to hot water to peel off his skin. They was using drugs to undermine people and put them in psych wards. They boiled them alive.
His name is Dortch, you can look it up.
And so these are facts. These are issues where we have merit to our claim when the UN say, when he was alluding earlier, that if anyone spend over 15 days in solitary confinement, the UN considered it to be torture. So right now, one of our brothers on the East Coast, he just started a people center. The people center is really no different in a local region than establishing a community release board. The UN already said that America is guilty of 5 counts of genocide, elder abuse, solitary confinement, mass incarceration. Those are one of the issues. This is why they're mad right now. Yeah. This is what's really going on behind the scenes. So when we talk about reparations, we don't want to forget about the institutional restitution. The institutional restitution of the broken families, because he got life sentences, she got life sentences. Oh, she can't have a relationship with their family. That breaks up the home. So now we talking about family reunification, right? And then you think about the violence and the hostilities that's perpetrated out here against our youth, our elder, and our women. We never supported that. The whole concept of a gang ideology, that's trash. Straight up. We don't support that. And I say it's trash because they tricked us to think that we was gang members. And then they used that same ideology, that same thought to put us in solitary confinement and validate us as gang members. But then right after the strike, they said, oh, it's a group of you guys that's not gang members. You're political, right? So you go right in Oakland and you see George on the wall. You see the Panthers on the wall. But you gonna validate the merit? I remember when I was in Sacramento and we was doing some policy around voluntary servitude. Some of you all probably was helping us when we was promoting Prop 6. It was Governor Newsom who vetoed Prop 6 that uphold involuntary servitude, slavery. So that's why they continue to treat us like dogs, because they see that in their eyes we're not valuable. And then they play not just the race card or the gender or the class card, going back to the papers where they use this study and you put a particular class of people over here. You got blue eyes, you got lighter skin, you got kinkier hair, and then we fall into that trap. In this day, we say, okay, I don't like you because your gender or your pronouns or whatever, right? So once we realized that in solitary confinement, that we were similarly situated, they came up with that document. That document is like when you talk about treaties, it's really one of the documents that still stand in this time and day. In California prisons, what they did to undermine that document, and I'm talking about the AEH, the Agreement to End Hostilities, they created yards, again, conquer and divide. This is gonna be a positive program yard. But they turned it around and said this is a non-designated yard. And then they infiltrated the yard with people who really didn't want a program, so they created other quote-unquote gangs that was by the state. So the biggest gang is the state. The biggest gang is the police, right? So while they conquering, dividing us, and we playing into this, that we come up with this concept of ending hostilities, our idea is to establish a parallel society. A parallel society is a safe community, a liberated community, so our elders, women, and youth don't have to be subjected to those stigmas that they put up on us. So yeah, right now I'm suing the state. I'm suing the state because I was in front of the prison advocating for the elders, and they said, oh, he's a black identity extremist. Yeah. So that's what they're doing to us now. If you get too smart, you're intellectual supremacist, right? They didn't say that for January 6th, though, right? They don't say that for the KKK. But I also want to highlight, when we talk about the agreement to end hostilities, that you also had the Aryan Brotherhood who signed on to our document. You've never heard that, right? Because we were serious about our politics. It was a strategy not only to come out of solitary confinement, but come from one structure to the next back into general population. And then the elders said, hold on, here's a book, here's a newspaper, change your mind, change your criminal mentality. And then we started coming back in society, and I became a part of California Prison Focus as a volunteer. About a couple years later, I became the director. California Prison Focus is one of the organizations that actually sponsored the movie strike. It was called Pelican Bay Express at first. It's a radio, it's a newspaper. So it's like a shared curriculum. You can get the newspaper, get up to date on what's going on. Abdul, Fatih, Satawa, it's so many, I could go down the list of these elders that I work with inside and out. And they always on me. And I like the fact that when we stepped in here, you guys was organized. We gotta write them, we gotta figure out what state demands, because you're right. The prison industrial slave complex, and then you got the nonprofit industrial complex. And that's why I highlighted California Prison Focus. This California Prison Focus was started by some formerly incarcerated people and incarcerated people. It's an abolitionist movement. We don't have a lot of staff. We don't get a big budget. We don't get a whole lot of money, but we have started this fight, and we passing the baton, and we just ask you to look into those concepts of the Community Release Board. Look into liberate our elders. From every cell block to city block, we promote the agreement to end hostilities. That's something you guys gotta learn about, because it's a strategy for you to sit down with people that you would never otherwise talk to, right? And you can hold them accountable. Like, hold on, you signed this document. So now let's talk about the real core issues, right? But imagining having that type of program in every city where you can have a go-to person when there's an issue and it's about to escalate. And you say, okay, well, I want to go to this particular regime or whatever people identify themselves as. I don't like to say gangs, because obviously they use gang and leadership against us, because I don't look at myself as a gang member. I'm a New African Revolutionary Nationalist. So I just wanted to say that getting involved for us is looking at the San Francisco Bay View, looking into the California Prison Focus website, look at Liberate Our Elders website, look at Cell Block to City Block. On August 15th, we're gonna have the New African Convention for those that can make it, or we might have a Zoom so you can go online. Get some of this literature, get proximity. We have a ride, we out here. And thank you for listening, thank you for having us. Minister King.
And with that concludes the 2026 Black August Los Angeles Virtual FLEA Day Program. Thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for studying, for fasting, for training, for fighting. Thank you for learning with us. Thank you for being in this collective as we continue the fight for freedom. The final thing that we ask of you tonight is to repeat after me. Free the land. Free the land. Free the people. Free them all. All power to the people. All power to the people. Ashe.